When I was a casual, I thought as a casual, I spoke like a casual, and I looked at boxing like a casual. But when I became a hardcore, I put away all those casual things. This is Michael Rogers, and welcome to Bodywork Boxing.
Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. Is it about race? Or is it about bad decision makings? Or could we even call it when claiming to be a boss goes wrong? Now, I like to take my time a lot of times to actually sit back and listen to, reactions and, measure them. I make my notes and I have my own thing, and, I'm a maverick. Sometimes they say I don't play well with others. It's just, I don't like making impulsive decisions. I don't like making decisions based on my emotions. Once I learned that emotional decisions lead to poverty, I stopped making emotional decisions. I started playing chess more. I started really thinking outside the box. Writing it down and then thinking outside of that box. I just want to have, a general, informative, highly opinionated, but also backed by facts type segment, And what I'm talking about is the Devin Haney narrative that's going on. And I'm going to run down some things, and I can do a whole bunch of previously on Bodywork Boxing. I can do a whole bunch of those. I can. Because I've been calling it, and in the presence of me actually calling it, when I'm making my comments and trying to have dialogue and trying to, see if I'm just totally out the wall, I was called a hater. Oh, you just hating. Oh, you just hating. You just don't like Devin Haney. Oh, you're just a take fanboy. And all this other shit. You know what I'm saying? And if you're going to rock with me, you're going to rock with me. You're going to rock with me if I smoke. You're going to rock with me if I say a couple curse words. But, shoot, we got people out here doing clickbait. We still got black people calling other black people monkeys. We got people getting like 3,000 and 4,000 views. And all they do is just slander their own kind and talk about boycotting their own. I've never heard one of these suckers ever say, let's boycott Canelo Alvarez. Why? It's just like the Wilder craze and how everything was about Wilder when it was, everything. Like other fighters got overshadowed. It didn't stop them from just introducing and interjecting him into every single solitary conversation. But I'm seeing a paradigm shift. Because when one cash cow goes down, they have to jump on another. And that's why I say I build my channel brick by brick. One subscriber at a time. One subscriber at a time. And it may take a while. Even if I get one subscriber, all subscribers matter over here. If you subscribe to my channel, it's because you know that I'm not in pocket. I do have favorite fighters. I am a southpaw bias. I have favorite fighters that I rock with more than I rock with others, but I really want to help preserve the sport. I always say I want to put fresh water into the sport, but never mind all that. These are for my hardcores who actually stay and listen all the way through the video. I'm not for the ones that just want to click on it for the title, even though it's not clickbait. But I want to speak to my hardcores. I want to speak to my critical thinking, because I see a lot of these channels, man, they cater to a low vibrational audience. If it's about drama and calling people the B word and the P word and monkey this and coon that, and just, this is a bunch of people that just, it's almost like a Klan rally, you know, but we just talking down on our own and go off on tangents and cursing and acting like you in prison and, you know, taking your money, but then won't acknowledge anything you say or do. But I'm gonna be me. Let's get into it. For a while now, I've been trying to say that, you know, certain people push certain fighters for whatever reason. And now, you know, it's not a good look on the YouTube boxing community, because even though there is a lot of influence from YouTube, it don't really push the needle in directions that people think they do. Yeah, you can coerce a couple thousand people to, you know, to assuage their conscience not to actually buy a fight. You can do that. You can do that all day long. You can assuage. Oh no, you can paint a narrative that such and such is a thug or a drunk, or you can paint and sway a 1,000 people, you know, into saying, oh, you know what? After all, I'm not gonna buy that fight anyway. Even though you won't hear some of these other fan bases, they might be thinking it. They might be thinking, I'm gonna stream the shit out of this fight. They might be thinking it, but they'll never be a crab in the barrel and get on and say, I'm not, you know what, I'm not going to do that. And this is a fight coming up that I'm really not going to support, but I'm not going to get on here and tell anybody, oh no, I'm not going to do that. But it's because of my own personal reasons, and it has everything to do with boxing. I've been keeping a log, a journal log, or an entry. You know, and a lot of it's up here, but I use my phone a lot, either my voice recorder notes or my notes that I could just, you know, type in there. I send text messages to myself. I send videos with minute marks and all. You know, those are a couple tips for people that's growing their channel. So you know, doing everything for yourself, every little bit matters. I'm not gonna charge you for that. But this whole Devin Haney saga is starting to become toxic, just like the Wilder subject. And Wilder became toxic because why? They introduced race. Right? And a lot of it had to do with what Wilder did inside the ring, or was unable to do inside of the ring. It was things that he was missing, tools that just wasn't there, you know. It was a whole bunch of things, the allegations afterwards, all of that, and it divided the boxing community. And I see this Devin Haney saga dividing the boxing community. I see it happening. It's happening right now. Like right now, it's just now tearing open at the bottom, but it's gonna slowly open up and it's gonna slowly divide. You know. And if you listen to a lot of these people, they'll, within the matter of 20 minutes, they'll actually contradict themselves. They'll come back and say, oh, Tank need to just drop that belt. It don't mean shit. It don't, you know, with the belt, with the belt. But I'm like, hold on. Mayweather was 3 or 4 steps ahead of everybody in the boxing ring. What make you think he not 3 or 4 steps ahead of everybody outside the boxing ring? He had Tank fighting 3 different weight classes. He had a legitimate strap at 30. He beat Leo Santa Cruz at 35. He beat Mario Barrios at 40. But what those secondary belts did, it kept his name relevant and in the conversation to where he had choices. He is a cash cow. Everybody somebody want to discredit him and say, if it wasn't for Mayweather, that sounds like some crab in the barrel ass mentality. Because at the end of the day, Tank got to still get in it. Mayweather not in there knocking people out for him. He not in there boxing for him. Coach Calvin not in there boxing for him. Coach Kenny not in there boxing for him. Barry Hunter, he's not in there boxing for him. At the end of the day, when them big bright lights come on and the referee step the fuck out the way, it's Tank in there doing what he gotta do. But just diminish him because you want to praise Devin. And when we talk about choices, let's talk about choices. Let's talk about choices. And I've said this in so many different videos, but when things start coming full circle, then people start leaking out little bits and pieces of the truth until, like, once that truth starts coming out, and this is 5 to 8 months after, everything that's going on. Once that truth starts coming out, then all of a sudden 3 months later, people in hindsight is 2020 looking asses, come out and put the whole thing together, which was right before our very eyes the whole time. What are you talking about, Mike? I'm talking about the fact that Devin had choices. Devin chose to get in bed with Eddie Hearn. Him and his father chose to actually run the business, and I'm a boss. I'm a boss, huh? I'm a boss. Huh? What did that do? You got a payday. That was your reward. It's evident that Eddie can actually pay Devin. He does this to a lot of different people. He will sign marquee people and don't have anybody really on the other end for them to fight. Or he'll figure out a reason as to why they're not going to be able to go through with the fight. And most of the time it comes down to money and terms, or terms. So, what am I talking about? Let's go back to the tournament, right? Because a lot of y'all, if you're gonna have the patience to actually sit down and listen to what I'm actually saying, you actually get a different perspective. It might not all be right to you, or you might not agree, or you might want to interject. But if you're gonna stay here and listen, you're gonna have to hear me all the way out. Let's go back to the tournament that they had, where Fortuna, that Abdulkarov, or whatever his name is, Devin, T.O., they all were supposed to be in it. And they all were vying to try to get Loma's spot. Well, Devin Haney and T.O. Sr. were all made aware that that tournament was not going to lead them to Loma. So T.O. drops out. You know what? Shit, I'm going to go get Comey. He got a belt. Loma is trying to, dare I say, unify. He need that IBF strap. He got Devin Haney breathing down his neck. He made it to the #1 spot, and they say that it was a mandatory, but if it was a mandatory, why didn't they mandate the fight? I can't just say, oh, well, I want to figure out how is he is mandatory. I can't say that because now they coming out and saying he was just mandatory. He was just mandatory. Okay, all right. And I say, well, how can somebody prove that? Okay, well, he was just mandatory. But why didn't the WBC, why didn't they mandate the fight? Furthermore, I just went over the top 5 myths in boxing, the 2nd edition, where I said unifications trump mandatories, which is false. Because in that scenario, you're going to have us believe that Loma should have stayed and fought Devin instead of trying to unify. It was his fault he took T.O. and underestimated T.O. It was his fault he went into that, because now the more and more the shoulder injury bullshit starting to come up, it's like, man, just cry me a river. Cry me a river. Y'all not giving T.O. no slack for after his loss, and he coming out talking about, you know, trapped air in his lungs and all that, and everybody like, cry me a river. But let's be real. Let's stop moving the goalposts. Loma didn't fight Devin because he wanted to go unify. Oh well. He thought T.O. was low-hanging fruit. Oh well. T.O. get the belt. He don't go do nothing with Devin. I got videos where I said that the value of that belt been devalued. I got videos where I said if it was worth anything, my grandmother would be getting Vaseline up for that strap. I didn't want to do it previously on Bodywork Boxing where I was snapping. Also, all this bullshit about nobody knew who Isaac Cruz was and all that was bullshit. Unless you just stringing your fans along. You just content creators. You're not really boxing. You're not really about boxing. You're about the drama and the monetization. Let's keep it a buck, because at one point in time, T.O. was thinking about letting that IBF strap go, and guess who was supposed to fight for it? It was going to be Cambosis and Isaac Cruz fighting for that, vying to get to Haney. So how nobody knew all of a sudden now, oh, this mystery man, Isaac Cruz, I didn't know, and now he's the best thing since sliced bread. And because you want to big up Devin, you try to take away the performance of Tank in his fight. I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to stick on Devin. So we had this tournament. Bill and them could have dropped out of the tournament as well. They could have went and vied for Comey and said, hey, flip a coin. Is it going to be me? You know, I'm next. Come see about me. They could have ran down. They didn't do that. They stayed in that tournament. Loma requested the franchise. Now you're actually seeing how it really works, since y'all want to actually keep. Y'all ran around, kept denying what the true power of that franchise belt was. Nobody likes the idea of the franchise belt. Nobody really understood it. But once they said that it was their supreme belt, meaning that it's above all, y'all ran around not acknowledging that. But I'm like, how you gonna tell the sanctioning body what they can and can't do? And you got two fighters paying in for it. And that's where the whole yes men complex came in, because you had too many yes men running around with Devin. Oh yeah, that sound right. No. Should have sat them down and said, you know what, man, they just screwed up everything because they elevated you. You're gonna pay these sanctioning fees, but you got a franchise belt that is superior to anything up under it in this sanctioning body. And the other sanctioning bodies didn't want to recognize it, but guess what? They just had a meeting recently. They just had a meeting. And right now we starting to see a snowball of what that meeting was and all this stuff coming down. People feeling like Uga's getting the shot. People feeling like Earl ain't getting the shot. But it's like, okay, they can't single out one person and just do something to one thing. So they have to make it look like it's comprehensive. Otherwise, they would have lawsuits, and they'd be getting caught up in litigation and all that. They can't do that. So yeah, it's putting some fighters in some tough spots, but they built for it. Spence built for it. I believe Uga's built for it. I think it's a tough fight against Stanionis, but he built for it. These fighters are built for it. Mayweather and them already had been saying, man, fuck that belt. What is, that's all you hear. And people say, oh, man, because they paying what? They say they pay, 3 or 4% of their purse? You walk around with 4 of them. That's a lot of money. That's $1 million. That could be $1 million, 1 point, whatever, in just in sanctioning fees. And they're not protecting these boxers' best interests with these belts. It's just a way to rule and reign and manipulate and who got the juice and all that, when we know that a lot of times belt holders not the ones with all the juice. But you revisionist historians resurrecting Lomachenko now after a win over Comey. I'm like, okay, he beat Comey. So what? So he all the way back at the top now for dusting off Comey, and he didn't even finish him. What are we saying? So what's the rule? Do unifications trump mandatories or not? Or it just depends on when it's up to your favorite. When it's your favorite fighter, that's the mandatory. Or when it's your favorite fighter that want to unify. Pick a side and stick to one, because y'all sound stupid. Or at least stick to one side during your whole video. But let's fast forward, right? So T.O. running around, he got the big head. And so he thinking he had all the belts. He's running around, I'm undisputed. I was deeming him as undisputed because that was, in my mind, he beat the man that was the man. Fuck all that, I put my belt down, I vacated all that. That's just like someone, when you talking to somebody, they want to use semantics and they want to use all these different, $20 words, $25, $50 words and all this, and you just trying to, get down to business, That's all it was. He beat the man that was the man. So then he get the big head. He no longer is looking at like the big picture. You getting drunk with fame.
Alright, I believe you. But my Tommy gun don't. Get down on your knees and tell me you love me.
My word, I do what I do. He knows what I'm about to tell him right now. It's Mr. Keep running your mouth. That's what I do.
I just feel like I'm the champ, and at the end of the day, I'm just a fighting motherfucker. It doesn't matter. Inside, outside, I can just fight. So I just feel like if it gets down to the wire, we gotta lock it up, I'm out on top.
Hey, look, as you can see how I'm looking, I stay solid. I'm always solid. I stay fuck solid on the ring. You know what I'm saying? To the fans and all.
Do that job outside the ring. I'm a fighter. Like I said before, ain't no safety on the clock, so I'm gonna do it.